So going to be going through a trade recap today. I had on NQ. Ended up getting smoked, as you can see. But I'm going to go over all the confluence, all the news that we had today, etc. So for news today, we had basically none. We literally basically had a no news Monday. This whole week, honestly, there's not a lot of news, so it's going to be very rough to trade. I would have to say I'm not a big fan of there being 25 red folders in a week, but I'm also not a fan of there being 2 red folders in a week. So there's usually a nice middle ground with that. And it's generally what moves price, I would have to say. Having a decent amount of news typically every morning tends to bring good news, I guess, or good move price action. Like last Thursday, we had bomb price, or last Wednesday it might have been. Wednesday or Thursday. It was one of these 2 days we had really, really good price action, and it's because we had a decent amount of news to push to market. This week is the exact opposite of last week. So, I'm going to go over all the confluences. So, there's 2 really big ones, one being the liquidity sweep of London session lows. So we see NASDAQ obviously took these lows. And the other big one was this 15-minute SMT, bullish SMT. So we see these lows, ES or NASDAQ at the time, making lower lows. We move over to ES here. ES is making higher lows. So it's obviously making me think bullish. We have NASDAQ being the lagging index. NASDAQ also just took out London session lows. I'm thinking bet we are going to be going higher. So I'm waiting for a little bit stronger confluence. I knew price action was going to be a little slow, so I'm like waiting for some other stronger confluence. So one of them being I usually like to see is a 15-minute breaker block form, 15-minute CI or a 15-minute breaker block, a 5-minute breaker block. Didn't really have either of those, which is fine. I can find an entry without those, especially with having the SMT there. I'm totally fine with that. So one of them was this 5-minute break of structure to the upside. So we have this high here, we have this down move, this up move, this creates the high. It's technically right there. We got a closure above it. So we had a 5-minute CISD. We also had a 1-minute market structure shift. So we had a 5-minute change of state of direction. We had a 1-minute market structure shift. So really what a market structure shift is, it's like kind of what I like to call a stronger break of structure. So we'll have this low get formed here, and then we're doing whatever, moving up, we start to go low, and then we break below this low, right? So we get a complete closure below this low. This is more of a market structure shift versus we have this major low get formed, we have a low here, and we get a closure below this low over here, right? That is technically, a break of structure, but a market structure shift is just when you close below this low. So it was just the opposite of that, obviously closing above it. So obviously we see whatever, we have this high get formed, when we move down, that creates the market structure shift when we get a closure above it. So we got 15-minute bullish SMT, hourly liquidity sweep, the SMT obviously being in my direction. I don't care if it's an SMT the other direction. I do not like trading against SMTs. My history against trading SMTs, I don't think I've won a trade. I don't even think I've been in profit for more than a combined minute trading against SMTs. This was identical to the setup we had last week, actually, which was the best trade I think I've had in a long time. So this was the trade actually from the SMT, the hourly SMT. So it was really, really identical to the trade that we just had, or the setup we had, except this was an hourly SMT. So obviously you see NASDAQ's making lower lows on the hourly. Contrary on ES would be higher lows. I don't really need to make a screenshot of that. I know what SMT looks like. Moving over to the 15-minute, we formed the breaker block. This obviously happened earlier in the market, but a breaker block is still a breaker block. It doesn't really matter. Then on the 1-minute was when we made this drastic move up, forming the market structure shift, is when I entered longs, targeting London session highs. Identical to today, obviously much different result, but I was waiting if we got a closure, relatively up here, a little higher. I was going to move stop loss to break even. I didn't want to move stop loss to break in right here. It was a little too early. I did have hopes here, though. I thought we were kind of going to start ripping, but again, not a bad trade. I'm really happy with executing on it. A lot of my issues before were not executing on these and then price ripping up to take profit and then me trying to enter late and then a whole shit show happened. So I'm totally fine with this loss. Was the setup I really like to see. Hourly liquidity sweep, 15-minute bullish SMT, 1-minute IFVG, 1-minute market structure shift, 5-minute break of structure to the upside. Ton of confluence is going my way. Obviously we see price just kind of ended up going a little sideways. So not going to be trading against an SMT anytime soon. That is just not my thing. Typically trading against a 15-minute, 30-minute hourly SMT is not going to result very well because those are very, very strong confluences, and SMT is a very strong confluence. And this was actually one of my first couple first leg loss, or I guess full loss, a lot of break evens on finding an SMT, but I'm totally okay with it. Managed my risk really well. I lost like $156 today on the account. So again, it's not a big loss, but obviously I'm okay with the loss. I don't care if I win, lose, break even on when I see my setup and I execute on it, right? I'm happy with executing on it. I managed my risk well. I knew I wanted to de-risk a little bit because I knew there wasn't a lot of news today. I knew price might not be pushing or moving as smooth as it usually does when we have news. So it's not a bad loss. Super happy I took the trade. A lot of people took the same trade. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying it's a bad thing. It's just a lot of people are seeing the charts the same way. So it is what it is. Tough loss. Going to be back tomorrow trading. It is what it is.